Alright, hello everyone, and hopefully my terribly unwashed hair isn't too distracting for any of you. I'm pretty much going to take a shower after I finish this. Anyways, obviously not the point of the video. So as you can probably tell, this is another vlog. Probably my 10th one, maybe. I don't know. By this point, anyways, it's a bit late. Probably gonna be a bit tired. So I might ramble on a lot. I usually do, anyways. So it's interesting because I've kind of tackled this subject a little bit, but I don't think I've tackled it a ton. So, and honestly, I don't usually do big philosophical things, because that's not what we do. We do Let's Plays. And I talk about random crap sometimes. So I figured, I'd talk about a random thing that's currently relevant. Kind of. So I was just recently sitting down and watching a video, because I've been watching videos a bit tonight after I uploaded my thing today, and I've been gaming anyways. So I came across the video by Daniel Floyd, from one of my favorite channels, Extra Credits, because gaming knowledge is awesome. I like learning, and it makes learning enjoyable. So it's perfect. I get random facts, and I get knowledge, and I get to be entertained rather than sitting down and doing what I usually do and reading a book for 5 minutes and being like, that's pretty cool, and then putting it down and walking away and never getting back to it for ever. I mean, I'll read some books. I'll read books I like. I'll read entertaining books. But I sit down with a textbook and I'll be like, I could learn. Right here, I could learn to write and read in another language pretty easily, I think. If I tried. But I don't want to learn to write and read in German. It's not interesting. This book does not present it in an interesting fashion, and I've probably never seen one, and never will see one, that does. Not that I need to learn to write or read in German. I'm not gonna send Sapir any letters, and if I did, he could read them in English. But, yeah. So anyways, getting completely off topic here. Besides, Sapir, the fact that Sapir is a pair is always relevant, but only sometimes, you see. No, so I'm being tired, but getting back to the point, to the original point, is, I was watching one of the videos, and it was one of the occasional videos that he does on the female audience, and they have some different ones about different things. It was just that overall thing of why we don't see the female audience more in gaming, and I'm not really gonna cover that. I'm just gonna cover one of the. In fact, I'm even more of almost going to cover a comment, though it was kind of brought up in the video too, that yeah, sometimes, the women's in games aren't treated the best, and honestly, I don't care that much. But it was just an interesting fact, which this is a vlog, so I'm more just, talk about interesting thoughts I had rather than actually trying to solve anything, unlike him, who's, it's a point of knowledge and stuff. But anyways, so, yeah, I just found it interesting, because I sat down and I thought, and I'm like, yeah, now also, gotta say, I don't know entirely. I don't know that my girl gamers think it's exaggerated, though. Because I was reading one of the top comments, and someone's like, girls don't game that often online because they get, death threats and stuff. And I'm like, okay. And one of it was like flirting, awkward flirting, death threats and stuff. I'm like, awkward flirting, yeah, I already know, which is what this is going to be about. Death threats? Really? What? who would bother? Who would bother saying, "Oh man, there's a girl on the internet. I'm gonna go to her house. I'm gonna kill her because I fucking hate girls." It's fuck. What? I don't have any words for that. If anyone does that, I gotta say they have some real problems. Either that or girls are just taken way out of proportion, because I don't think that happens very often. I've literally never played, I've even played with girls. I haven't played with many, obviously, but I've even played with them. And I've never sat down and seen that. I've never sat down and see them get messaged by one saying, "Hey, I'm gonna kill you." Yeah. And the only in fact, it was more the other way around, and it wasn't the girl giving death threats, but there was this particular time, I think, where a girl was being a bitch, and then someone, I think they reported her or something, for negative behavior, because she was being a bitch, and she's like, "They just reported me because I'm a girl," and I'm like, well, you were being a bitch. I didn't actually tell her that. I wanted to tell her that, but, I usually try to not activate the conflicts when I'm not sure how to. Like, when I'm speaking to people who I know how to speak to, like, if I was talking to Sapir, and he'd start being a dick on Left 4 Dead, I'd be like, "Hey, Sapir, I think the fact that you got kicked is actually reasonable, though most of the time it's not. Most of the time you get kicked in Left 4 Dead for stupid things." But anyways, that is kind of aside from the point. So, yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So, I did, however, see an instance of the awkward, flirting. And it wasn't even in a game, funny enough, but I certainly see where the issue comes from, and it's an interesting issue that I think I've seen before. So I've realized by the saying of people sometimes that not using names is bad. Oh yeah, then that girl before, another reason I didn't tell her she was being a bitch, I'll go ahead and use names, even though I don't really use names. She was my sister. It was, I don't game with any girl. I don't game with very many girls. I gamed with my sister until I stopped talking to her. But yeah, it's not surprising that she was online being a bitch. Regardless, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about, so I came up with some really stupid names that I'm hoping are funny, or they might be really awkward. But they're names that are, relevant to, they're similar to, or whatever. So the first one, I'm just like, well, it's an internet name. I'll just come up with some completely, out there shit. So first, so I'm gonna call this guy. It's probably not gonna be funny if you don't know his real name, because it's actually completely safe for work. But I decided I'm gonna call him Bondage. And if you do know who that is, that's probably really funny. So I'm sorry for those who don't, and I'm also sorry because it's funny because I'm probably not gonna start anything on the internet with this. Probably gonna start some things with my friends though, if they watch these. Probably not going to, though. But if they do, well. Because, honestly, I'm using close names, so it's not that hard to guess. But, yeah, so, this guy, Bondage. his name's not really that, so obviously it's not that awkward. But yeah, so there's this guy, and it's just, honestly, it's just the two of us in the chat talking. Wait, I'm pretty sure, I want to say, I really hope it was him. I think it was him. I'm almost 100% sure, but I wouldn't guarantee it. It also might have been, another guy I know. I didn't think of a name for him because I didn't think it was relevant. But fuck. Anyways. So, just assume it's this guy, and if it's not, I'm sorry. But, so, and there's this other girl goes into the chat. Her name's Farah or whatever. It's yeah. Anyways. So she comes into the chat, and me and him were having this really nice chat about this new MMORPG that he's playing, that he's trying to get me into, which I did play for a while. It was Rift. Played it for a while. Then I did the same thing that always happens with MMORPGs, which I got bored. I got bored. It's kind of the issue I have whenever anyone invites me, whenever anyone invites me to an MMORPG, because it was like, hey, you want to come play this MMORPG with me? And then I'm like, sure, I'd love to join your guild, or whatever. And then I realized that they're like max level, like he's level 60, and obviously I started as level 1, so yeah. You know, either 1, we never to play together, which is what happened, or 2, the other person joins the party and I get bored because getting high level help in low level areas is boring. Getting someone in your party who can go around instant killing everything, it's boring. It's like playing with the cheat codes on. It's like, yeah, it's fun for a little bit, but then when you've seen this guy go around and instantly zap these stupid little crap creatures that they start you out on, it's not exciting. But then you play the game for several hours and get up to level 30 and you realize that not playing with anyone isn't exciting. So yeah. The only times when I've ever really had a really decently, well, it's the same with any online game. They only really last if you play them with anyone. That's how multiplayer games work. They don't hold up on their own because, well, it's hard to make a game that's great multiplayer and great single player. But, getting really off subject, so I'm having this cool conversation with this guy. Also, it's not Bondage licks, so I'm sorry to that guy who is probably not watching this video. But so I'm talking to this cool guy who goes by the name of Steel Broadside. Let's go with that. Goes by the name of Steel Broadside, you know. And so this girl Farah logs in, and we were, by the way, we're in this group Skype call, we're not just Skyping together. But we were in a group Skype call. Ironically, we were Skyping together. Just so us, I could be, actually, come to think that I might be wrong about who I'm I can't even remember anymore. It's one of the two. But I'm tired, and it's been a while. But we were having this great conversation, and this girl logs in, and she doesn't mess anything up. She doesn't do anything on her own. But as soon as she gets in, the whole conversation just stops. This whole great conversation that I was enjoying, it just stops happening. The entire conversation starts to be him leaning towards just like flirting with her. I'm just honestly sitting there thinking, I could be doing better things. I could be talking about what we were talking about, honestly, is what I wanted to do, which is why I didn't leave. I could have been gaming, though. That would have been a lot more fun. I could have been, I don't know, I could have been making a vlog or something, doing, gaming, but no. So I was sitting there listening to this really stupidly awkward chat, and that was all that was happening. And it pissed me off, and that's the only reason I could think of where maybe it wouldn't be, I still doubt death threats are a real thing that's happening, but, that's the only point that I can think that anyone would go to that extent. Isn't actually something the girl's doing, it's something that other people are doing, because that's annoying. I like the person, and besides that, I enjoy talking to them. Either the two that I mentioned, Steel Broadside or Bondage Lick. They're both cool people on their own, and generally in groups they're fine. In fact, one of them I was recently actually, both of them I was recently discussing D&D with. But it got, and I wouldn't threaten anyone just because they're female, even if they, like the girl Farah, I wouldn't, go out of my way to be like, no, you can't hang out here just because people give you attention for, instead of, and it's one of those things that I'm like, well, at first it's like, well, maybe it's the natural thing to do, and it even seems to be the natural thing to do, but it's like, that doesn't make it appropriate. That doesn't mean it was like if I did it. And I'll give another example. Let's say that, and I already, I'll get to it before, but I've gotten to this before, but let's just, for the fun of it, assume, that I had a boyfriend. Most of you might not enjoy assuming that, but, well, even if I had a girlfriend, most of you probably wouldn't. Well, maybe I should do that. It's really hard to say. Let's just assume it's either. Let's assume I had a boyfriend or a girlfriend. It doesn't really matter for this situation. And then I went and I started up a chat with my friends. And it's a big old group chat, and my girlfriend's in it, of course, because she's my girlfriend, and I enjoy talking to her, and generally other people are okay with talking to her. But then, just, it's me and one person, like, you, or someone, it's just us, having a nice sit down, a nice talk about something I like, or probably about something you like, something we're discussing this new game that we're all hyped about. We're both excited. We're both, it's happening. And then my girlfriend or boyfriend joins the call. We sit down, and then it just stops. The two of us, not the two of us talking, but me and my girlfriend just start flirting, or boyfriend, just start flirting, and, playing virtual grab ass, and just, having fun with just each other, not with the rest of, with anyone else. I'm like, you'd be pissed. I imagine. I could be wrong. Maybe some people are tired. Well, if you have a heavy voyeurism fetish, maybe. Maybe you're sitting there like, man, I hope they start doing it. But unless that is the case, and I doubt that's the case for everyone, and even then they might find it mildly annoying, because they're like, well, this is hot, but I won't know. Can you finish your freaking thing? Can you finish our conversation? Yeah, and some people might not even stand for it. But, so I had to bring that up. I'm like, I don't care that much on girls in general, whether or not they're in the fandom. I'm just bringing up, I'm like, I can see, if that's the standard way for anyone to act, and this was an intelligent person, or at least he was at the time, and then a girl came in and his intelligence dropped, his it just dropped several levels. Dropped his intelligence went from a 14 to like an 8. If you're going D&D points. You know, which 8 would put him to small, which I could say 6, but he wasn't quite that stupid. I was still fairly certain that he probably could still read and write in that state, though not very well. Not, I'd assume not very well. But regardless, this is probably getting really insulting to him, and maybe to some other people. But at the same time, maybe it should. I don't know. I don't want to be that person who's calling everyone out, but at the same time, it's like, well, like the example I stated. Obviously, that's, you know, not a thing that everyone can enjoy, and admittedly, it's one of those things that sometimes you can't avoid, but it seems like one of those things that is consistent enough, because I've actually had it happen before in the chat. Though not just specifically with the person, but with specifically with like 2 or 3 other people. And we're all sitting down and having a nice chat, and I was having fun. And then a girl showed up, same girl, Farah, and we got fucking stupid. I got so pissed. That time it was worse, actually, because there's a group of people, and everyone just started being dumbasses. And I was just sitting there, like, I want to kill all of you. I don't want to kill the girl. I want to kill all of you. I want to take you aside and stab you violently. What the... Why? Why are you losing your mind over this? I'm like, I'm sure she's a nice girl. I don't know her that well. But I don't care. I care sometimes, but if I'm in the middle of a conversation, I don't care. I want to finish what we're talking about. I want to talk about D&D. I want to talk about gaming. I want to talk about whatever, you know. So, yes, that can be an issue. And I'm one of those people who has issue with it, but I actually have issue on the other side. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sure, like, it's funny, because usually I wouldn't take this side, and I'm not even completely, like, if there's any girls who come in and they start purposely, you know, messing things up, then they're obviously in the wrong. But if there's any guys who just over the side of a girl starts acting differently, that's a bad character trait. And, yeah, I don't really appreciate it. And I don't know. I just don't get it. And I get liking girls. I mean, you know, some of you may know, I would be considering myself bisexual on a normal basis. So, you know, I'm like, well, and I had a little iffish there, but I'd thought about it. I'm like, yeah, I definitely, guys are nice for certain things, and girls are nice, and, you know, they're soft, and I can be immature too. I'll go ahead and say it. I like big boobs. I like big, squeezy, gropey boob. But, you know, I don't, you know, like, it's funny, because that's usually my point of conversation when girls aren't about. Not when girls are there. I'm like, when girls are there, I'm like, well, you know, my point of being immature is a little, you know, it's a little more awkward now. It'd be like, even if I was hanging out with, say, guys who were bisexual or who were gay, and I just started talking about big dicks, I'd be like, those big old dicks. They'd be a little like, you know, they might have some fun with it, but they'd probably be like, that's kind of immature. You know, it's a little straight to the point. It's not really, and they might not all be. It depends on personality to personality to personality. And so some people might not even care. Some people might enjoy the awkward flirting. I just personally can't. I was also going to state that I kind of, at first I was like, I kind of understand, and I was like, I really don't. I don't understand it with girls. I don't understand it with people you aren't currently attached to, and with boyfriend and girlfriend it actually makes a little more sense, so I've tried to avoid it as hard as I can. Though there was my first relationship, which usually that didn't happen with, but I did become aware a little bit afterwards, a little bit during though, too, but I wasn't sure what to do about it, where sometimes, y'all know, I probably used to use Cloudsdale. It's a cool chatting site. Some of the mods are kind of hard asses these days, but it's probably still fun. I just kind of got out of it because I got so much going on Skype and everything else. I don't really need an extra chatting site, but, it's there. And, I log on occasionally. One of you might get really lucky and see me. I don't know. Regardless. So, not talking about Cloudsdale. Talking about this. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so my first, so I'll go ahead and say it was he, I know, mind-blowing. Anyways, so yeah, it was dude, but so sometimes he would log on, and I really tried not to change the focal point, and I wouldn't even start with the flirting. I don't think I ever just sat there and started flirting and, derailed the conversation with that, but I know that I do recognize that sometimes I was talking to someone, and he was my first, so obviously, in my mind, he was just so super special, to me, at the time, and so, I'd be in the middle of talking about, the new something, new game, the newest hypest, the new consoles, maybe, and, like the Wii U, or of course, the newest generation of consoles, but I was in the, anyways, so we'd be talking about something that we'd both be excited about, and then Jacanis would log in, and my focal point would change. I wouldn't stop talking to the other person, I wouldn't start flirting, but my focal point would change. As soon as I could, I would start talking with him, and my interest became him. It wasn't the other person, it wasn't the other conversation. They were there, or I tried to keep them there, but it wasn't there. It wasn't, I wasn't in the conversation where I once was. I was probably recognizable. If anyone knew me really well, at least. Like, I don't think anyone at that time did, because obviously that was in the earlier days of Cloudsdale, at least for me, and, actually for Cloudsdale in general, actually, because I was one of the earliest people to join. Or some people still consider me, like, I'm not even going to bring that up, screw it. Anyways, some people are like, you're still, I guess I will. Some people are like, you're still a newbie, and I'm like, fuck you. I joined in the days when no one was logging on. If you want to call me a newbie, fine, but it doesn't really matter. Like, I joined when anything was happening. If I had have joined any earlier, I would have stopped coming, because you know what? Some people are like, I remember back in my day when chat didn't move for a whole day or two. It was like, wow. Just, wow. No. What? That's not a chat site. That's a dead chat site, I guess. Anyways. So, Cloudsdale apparently used to suck. And, yeah, that happened. What was I saying? I think I was saying, I really need a drink of water. Sorry for this, everyone. Ah. Okay, sorry. Getting dehydrated here. Fucking talking for a while and stuff, so. I wasn't actually saying I needed water. Hopefully y'all don't mind that little thing there. So, okay. Oh yeah, so I was saying, though he didn't know me at the time, I'm sure Sapere would have noticed if I had been talking with him, and all of a sudden, you know, this guy logged on, and I can't even think of a name for him. I don't know. I don't know. This isn't all related to his name at all. Let's just call him Dragon Butt. No Dragon Butt logs on. Fuck, that's stupid. But anyways, that's unrelated to his name entirely. But Dragon Butt logs on, and I start really focusing down on this one thing. So I understand an idea in that way, but that was someone I was close to. That was someone I dated for almost a year. Not always at that time, but you know, I was still a little bit into the relationship. So I don't get why just with random people. I don't even do that with people I'm interested in, I don't think, besides that one person. Like, if I'm in a Skype call, if I'm in a Skype call, I don't think I isolate people. And if I do isolate people, it is because I like them. Like, if I was in a Skype call with, like, if I joined a Skype call with, say, a group of strangers, and Sapere, I'm gonna focus on Sapere. He is my friend. He's someone I know. He's a pair. I don't know anything about anyone else. Who knows what kind of strange fruit they might be? It could be... Oh, God knows. It could be a grenade, or fucking whatever they're called, or a pomegranate. I want to talk to a pomegranate. It sounds weird. Apparently I can talk to pears, though. That's fun. But I'm overdoing that a little, so let's see. Yeah, there's not really much else to say on the subject, though. There's just that. So, you know, everyone, like, if that's happening, try to assign blame where it's due. And I'm not saying all girls are blameless. If there's a girl who deserves blame, go for it. Blame that bitch. Be like, you know, I don't care about, I don't want to talk to that bitch. But, you know, otherwise, no, it's, you know, I don't really, like, you know, I don't usually care to not get that much attention. I just care when the chat literally goes down the drain. And admittedly, I sometimes like when the chat's, like, more oriented to things that interest me. But when it's just not happening, when it's just flirting, there's no point. I might as well just be watching a really bad... Well, I'd be having more fun if I was just watching a really bad romance movie. Where the really awkward guy gets the really awkward girl. And they go home and have really awkward sex. I'd be like, okay. Maybe I should just go watch The Room. Even though the really awkward guy doesn't get the bitch girl. But I guess that's not a really awkward girl. Or should have, you know, I don't know. I'm kind of surprised. I'm surprised there isn't a Mrs. Johnny Wiseau who just shows up at the end, and she's just like a Johnny Wiseau with boobs, which would be horrifying. And she's like, "Oh, hi, Johnny," and Johnny's like, "Oh, hi, Jessica," and that's the end of the movie. But no, that wasn't the end of the room. But, that would have been a thing. So anyways, that's a thing. That's the thing with the guys and the girls and the things. I don't think there's anything else to say about it. Yeah, there's not much else to say about that, except that, except that Dragon Butt is sexy, and not that kind of, if you're into that kind of thing, it can be, but regardless, getting a little off topic here, I am tired. You all probably, after watching this and trying to decipher what I'm saying, are probably tired. So I imagine I should go to bed, and you all should do whatever you were doing before I started, sitting down and harassing your mind with thoughts of girls and guys. But I do hope I've given some people things to think about, and if not, oh well. It gave me something interesting to think about. I didn't even think about it that much, and I saw that, I'm like, actually, that's kind of happened. Not to the extreme, to the death threats, because I still think that sounds stupid, but, And if that has happened to anyone, I'm sorry, though still, you'd have to, it'd have to be some real psychotic people to actually, because I'm like, there's not a lot of information. In fact, I don't know much about hacking. I don't much know about many things with computers, but if you sit down and you're just playing Xbox Live with someone, I don't think there's enough information off of Xbox Live to track them down. I don't know how all of it works, but yeah. As long as you don't put in where you live on Xbox Live, it's people can't really do much with it. They're like, "Oh, you're on Xbox Live." And then they could be like, "Well, I'm going to give you a bad review because I don't like you," and which is a thing on Xbox Live. You can do the reputation thing, which is probably completely useless. I just know I've had like 5 stars for forever. And it's not even because I'm a cool dude, because if you all think so, that's cool, but I usually play without my microphone, because I'm like, those things are uncomfortable. So I think I've only gotten a good rating, because I usually do a good job on my team. Not always, but, I do alright. Anyways, the point of this wasn't really bragging, and I'm getting a little off topic. So, any of you who watched, or whatever, thank you all for watching, because if you're at this point, obviously we're watching, and I hope to see you all next time.